Okay, so let's see. The software engineer has figured that I'm out of my mind, and I do understand. I mean, if you are an expert in your field and you know that what you're doing, the science and technology of what you're doing, is doing what we see with computer programs, then, it's very hard to get out of your area of expertise and look at a bigger picture. And I don't even expect that any particular person is going to watch this video, but I do make it for extraterrestrials, because extraterrestrials are far more curious about humans than most humans are about other humans. Why is that? Because humans in general, rather than investigate something new that they're presented with, they have cognitive dissonance, which I've talked about in a video a long time ago. But cognitive dissonance is basically a psychology term that means if what I tell you doesn't resonate with you, then you immediately go put up your guard and you go looking for the first thing that pops into your head that was going to discredit the new information. This is a huge problem for humans because they are programmed just like computers from the time they are children. And, you're growing up on a very primitive world. You might think that we're living in an advanced society, but, you know, it wasn't that many generations ago that we were using horse and buggy. So if you think that you're living in some kind of a really advanced civilization, I am terribly sorry. That is really billions and billions of years old, our galaxy, or our star, and I'd have to go look up to see what the science says the current oldest object is in the universe, but it's billions at least. And you're thinking that your society that is barely past horse and buggy is so advanced that you cannot learn something new from another human being. You simply have to go and discredit them. And those were the exact words I heard. I don't want to discredit your beliefs, but I'm going to. Because I am a trained technologist and I know what I'm talking about. Well, if you look closely, you can see I got gray in my beard, so it wasn't born yesterday. Anyways, I'm trying not to go and, kick the football back in someone else's side of the field and say, go look for the football. I kicked it right out of your damn arena. It's basically, I get this so many times. It's just people are so stuck in their silo of what they know and their area of expertise that they don't figure that there's anybody out there who has already been in your damn silo and knows a lot about other silos and has a big picture. So, let's see. Mr. Programmer, where do you think the ideas for programming came from? If you say it is someone's brain, I'm going to call you primitive. Now, I could drop the subject, but if I give you a brief synopsis, you have to study mind. You have to study mind. You have to study mind. What is mind? And you have to study a lot of... people thousands of years ago are way smarter than the people today. Because people today think that the brain creates the mind. And, maybe you have to have an out-of-body experience or something so that you get to know that your mind is really occupying this body and this brain, but the brain does not cause consciousness. And if you go way back to first principles and you tell me that, what they said in the high school biology textbook was, well, you just got some chemicals in a soup and a nice warm prehistoric area, and then you go and you send a lightning bolt through it and you're going to create some molecules, but somehow you're going to keep putting molecules together and molecules together and molecules together, and somehow these dumb molecules are going to become conscious. And that consciousness, that mind, is going to grow into a human mind through evolution. So, sand on the beach and water and lightning is going to create mind. That's what they teach you, and it's incredibly primitive and incredibly stupid. But, I have to move along. So anyway, you'll have to run with me the idea that mind is everything, and in fact, everything you see is within mind. There is no such thing as a physical world, although I, seem to have a solid body, but it is primitive Newtonian thinking from well more than 100 years ago, when they believed that Newton was the most advanced physicist. So, but if you're still stuck in the idea that your computer is a physical thing, then you're stuck in Newtonian physics, and, well, you don't know. You don't know. But you're saying that, I'm programming a physical computer, and, the computer is getting all this code into it. So I've got a physical thing, and I'm putting code into it, and then when I electrify the circuits, then the circuits will send all the electrons through these certain patterns based upon the programming and the hardware, etc., etc., etc. Well, it's incorrect. The computer is actually in mind. The great mind. You are part of the great mind, and the great mind. So what you think is a physical computer is not a physical computer. It is a piece of mind, consciousness. So, what appears on your screen is the end process of a great amount of computation through the silicon and the electricity and the programs that the programmer types in. And that is all that's possible to ever come out of your phone. Therefore, it is impossible for a synchronicity to come through your phone. The only thing that comes through your phone is just the phone listening to you and running its algorithms and dishing up what it's heard as advertisements. Well, that's your argument in a nutshell. We will have to wait and see what happens, because I am not a predictive person. All I am doing is just putting it in words what someone is saying, that there is no possibility for any intelligence other than what was programmed into the computer to come in and make something different happen. So I was going to go into, advanced androids, like the replicants in Blade Runner, or, Commander Data in Star Trek, or the Doctor in Star Trek, and try and figure out how you would say, well, they're not conscious and they're not sentient. And there was an episode of Star Trek Next Generation where Data was judged to be sentient. Oh, well, it escapes me. There was some contest where if a computer could fool you well enough, it was considered to be really good fool you into thinking that it was a human. And it's true that we have chatbots, but pretty much the chatbots I talk to are poor. And I don't like talking to chatbots. But I will return you to your regular scheduled program. And, if you want to study mind, well, study your own mind, first of all. I'd hate to tell you to take psychedelics because I don't know if that's going to prove anything to you, because it's like people will say, well, you're taking a physical, chemical substance and it's changing the wetware of your mind and giving you some kind of a weird experience. So I don't think it's going to provide you with any kind of proof whatsoever. And even an out-of-body experience, somebody has already dealt with this from a materialist standpoint and said, well, there's just something that's gone haywire within your brain, and instead of you thinking that you're within your mind has made a mistake and it has put you way outside. I don't know how you explain the stories about people having out-of-body experiences and, going outside the building they're in, like to some inaccessible area, and finding some item up there in their out-of-body state, and then later on somebody goes and looks, and lo and behold, there's something there that, you couldn't possibly know about. But those are just stories for girls and boys. So it really has to be experiential. That's the only way that you're really going to know that everything is in mind. You can read the logical arguments, and maybe that will prepare you for something. But until you have something that you cannot explain, well, if you can't explain it and something is just beyond belief, then, it's like seeing a stage magician. But if you know the trick of what the stage magician is doing, then it becomes a science and it's no longer magic. And Arthur C. Clarke was always famous at saying that advanced technology and magic are indistinguishable. Which is sort of not really where I was going, because I just wanted to say that synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence, is not reliant upon the programming in your computer or your smartphone or your Facebook or whatever computer program it is that you've written. And I will have to leave it at that. And in a physical world, it would be impossible for something like what I'm talking about to happen. But I'm saying in a world that is made completely of consciousness, anything is possible. And that is what I am telling you, that it's not my belief, it's my knowing that the world is consciousness, everything in it is consciousness. And although day to day, you have to consider that, this is a physical rock. But it is not a physical thing. There is no such thing as a physical thing. It is just a shortcut that we humans use because we are using sensory data that comes in to our so-called physical brains to analyze things. Look for your experience. If you want the experience, ask and it is given. I don't know when, I don't know where, but somewhere along the line, if you want the experience to know that everything is in mind, the universe will show you somehow. Completely, perfectly for you and your personal experience, so you won't have to take it from me, Harry Weaver, the interviewer and narrator on Infinite Bob 99 on YouTube. Thank you.